Hi there, I'm Lee, welcome to iMineBlocks. In this video I'll be sharing with you my experience of building a 13 GPU mining rig. So in this video I'll be covering all the aspects that you need to build a 13 GPU mining rig and my first-hand experience of doing so. So this video is not necessarily a how-to, but I will be showing you pretty much all the steps required to do such a thing. I'll be taking you through the process of all the components that are required. I should be showing you the frames that I'm going to be using, also the entire build process itself from start to finish. I'll also be showing you the performance of the machine and also the power consumption. Okay, so let's get started. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited, so let's get right into it. Okay, so let's talk you through the components used for this mining rig. On the outside edges we have the wooden mining frames. These are just homemade DIY mining frames. The one on the left hand side is the one I built yesterday. It's a slightly better version, slightly cleaner than the previous builds. You'll see in my other videos about those wooden frames. The main graphics cards you can see on the left hand side is the RX560s. We have 9 of those. They are the Sapphire Pulse edition and they are the overclocked versions. On the top row you can see we have 3 RX470s. Again, they are the Sapphire branded cards. We also have one RX570 and that's a MSI card on the top left hand side. Powering the machine, we have 2 power supplies. They're both made by Corsair. One is a RX1200i and the other one is a RM850. To the right hand side we have a box of PCI Express risers and USB cables. They are the version 6 risers. The motherboard that we'll be using is a Asrock H110 Pro BTC. The CPU is an Intel Pentium G4400. I have 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM and we also have a SanDisk 16GB USB pen drive that's going to be used for the operating system. So that's all of our components that we're going to be using for this rig. So to start I need to add the CPU and RAM to the motherboard. Okay, so that's our CPU and RAM into the Asrock H110 Pro BTC board. Okay, so I've just got the 2 frames on the desk here. You can see I've got one of each of the risers, or 2 of the same risers should I say. And I'm just going to mock up the motherboard onto the somewhere in between the shelves. I've got 2 GPUs as well. I'm just going to kind of mock it together just ready to see whether I've got enough length for the best kind of orientation of these frames. I think because the shortness of these cables, these are 60cm cables, and they're coming up a little bit shorter than I expected. I've got some on order, but they're not going to be here until tomorrow, which is Saturday. So I'm just going to mock up this section and try and work out what fits together well. So maybe if I'd done it that way, that could work better. So then I can get all the graphics cards linked up all the way along without stretching cables, and also I'd probably be able to get my hand in there to connect any USB devices, DVI display connectors, keyboard, etc. So that should work quite well, I think. Also on the back of this we have the reset and the power button on this motherboard, which is a useful feature. So, and with a power supply probably at the far end, I think that will probably work. So yeah, I'll continue on with this and we'll see how we get on. So now I'm going to continue on and fit all of our PCI Express riser cables. They do come with this Molex to serial ATA connector, but I'm not going to be using these. Basically because I don't trust them. I don't really like the build quality on these, so I'm just going to be going from a power supply directly via the Molex connector on the back of these. Okay, so on this kind of bundle here, that's 7 GPUs, so I think I'll use the 4 high-powered GPUs plus 2 the RX560s and power the motherboard as well from the RM850, and then use the HX1200i for 7 GPUs at the back. Anyway, for the time being, let's continue on wiring up the rest of the PCI Express risers. Okay, so let's continue on fitting the rest of these risers. I've just moved 7 of the USB cables from the back side across to the front, so you're going to have 7 GPUs along the front there. Okay, so just to give you guys a close-up look of the how the riser cables are installed. So on this back side we have 6 of the risers, and on the front we're going to have 7. You can see actually connected into the ports there. Try and get from the other angle. You can see them all plugged into the ports there. Okay, so I'm going to start by installing the RM850. So that's going to be powering our 7 RX560s that are going to be along the front there. So you can see it's actually already got a whole bunch of cables, so I'll be removing these. This is because it come from the worker free machine, so I just need to remove a couple of the extra cables that won't be used. Okay, so the power supply is mounted there. The fan is mounted to the inside of the board. I think that'll probably be the best position for it, at least initially. So we have the motherboard connector. We're not using that to plug into the motherboard, but we'll just be using its kind of hot wireless power supply and get it up and running to power the graphics cards. So we still need to have that on. Okay, so I did say that I didn't want to use these Molex to SATA connectors, but I think it will just help break up the load across all of the connectors of the graphics, the actual power supply. So we'll use these. I think I could probably use the Molex connectors across all of them because they're quite low powered cards. So now I'm just unboxing each one of the GPUs one by one. Okay, so we have all of our graphics cards unboxed. We have a nice lineup now. So here are all of our RX560s, our RX470s and the RX570. Okay, so now I'm going to start fitting our RX570s on the front frame. There will be 7 of them, and I'll get them secured in, and it will help tidy up the cables and get everything coming together. So just move that camera around so you can see a little bit better of what's going on. Really, I'm just screwing these in. Plug them into the riser. I think I will put the rest in just loosely, just then I can kind of work out how much space I've got between them. I'm not going to obsess too much about the spacing, that looks about right to me, so I'm going to secure those in now. Okay, so this is the front, it's pretty much done. All the power connectors are in there and it's looking quite nice. There's a little issue with the cable management, but we'll come back and we'll tidy up that soon. But overall it's looking pretty good, I'm quite happy with everything. So this motherboard has some additional Molex power connectors. You can see one, if I just get my finger in there, one in there, and there's one on the outside edge of the board, just there. You can see that one there as well. So they're used for providing some extra power to the PCI Express the PCI Express connectors themselves. So I'll be wiring those up first. So now I'll add in the main ATX motherboard power connector. So this end goes to the power supply, this end is the motherboard, and this part here goes to the secondary power supply, so that's going to be going to our RM850 on that side there. So this is our primary power supply, the Corsair HX1200i, and it is a whopping great power supply, really good quality, and I'm hoping this is going to power our machine very nicely. So let's park this up where we think we're going to use it, something about like that. Okay, let's motor on now and get the rest of these cables attached. So this is how we're currently looking. I've added all the power connectors to each one of the risers. So at this end I've got the Molex power connectors all directly in, and then to the back of the power supply there. At this end I've run out of Molex connectors, so I'm going to have to use these Molex to SATA connectors, but they'll be on the low power cards. Just a little look at the back of the power supply. It's quite messy, but I will tidy it up. Okay, so something to point out, obviously I'm aware of all of these cards here are going to be pushing heat forward into the back of these cards. that is something that I'm going to have to work out. I did consider rotating this frame, reverse it, so have kind of back to back and have the heat going out sideways. That would probably be a better option, but that's something that I'll have to come out to. So the next cards that are going in are the RX470s, and they're kind of heat blowers, so they're going to be really blowing a lot of heat into the back of these cards. So I think what I shall add is some kind of ducting, some like heat-proof ducting to kind of push the heat up, out and away from the back of these cards. I don't think it's going to affect the performance too much, but they do put out quite a lot of heat, so that's something that needs to be addressed. I was thinking of this for layout, so we've got the two 560s, the 570 and then the three 470s, but these three here are all blower designs, so the heat's going to be ejecting out this way, and it's quite aggressive, and it's also pretty hot. This one has a twin fan on it, so I think I don't really like the idea of this RX470 pushing heat straight onto the power main kind of power connector, and I've got them all tied together there. It's a little bit difficult to move that. It seems to just kind of naturally fall there. So I think I will swap this 570 with this 470, and that will help with the airflow through the frame. I think that will work better. It might not look as good, but I think it will work better. In there you can see our memory stick, USB stick with the Simple Miner OS software installed. Just above that, I'm not sure if you can quite see, but it is a little tiny dongle for our keyboard and mouse. So this GPU here is connected to the 16 times PCI Express connector. So this should be GPU 1. So inside here I'll be connecting to the monitor via the HDMI connector, but also I'm going to connect the DVI connector on the motherboard as well. So hopefully between the two of those we get a display straight away on our monitor. Just got a final check, double check everything, make sure everything is looking good, nothing's majorly out of place. And now I'm going to do the big power up. So I actually need to get under the desk to do the power up, but you guys can kind of look from the top and hopefully everything goes according to plan. Just making sure the camera was on, so let's go for the first power up. Okay, so I just see a display on the monitor. Looks like it's going straight into Simple Miner OS. You can see some of the GPUs have got, the fans are spinning, so this one is spinning, these two are spinning, and these two are spinning, but then a couple of them are not. So waiting for Simple Miner to load on screen. It's just gone to a black screen now. So this GPU here is spinning at a fairly constant, quite high rate. The others are kind of pulsing between higher and lower RPMs. So it's looking like we're going to have to do some investigation. I'm going through and double checking all the power connectors, but also I kind of realised that I can split the frame in the middle, so you can kind of get this V configuration. And that's quite a cool feature. But really my attention was kind of focused on the USB connectors. So I think we've just found one of our problems. I was checking particularly the risers for quality control versus everything else, but you can see on this connector here, hopefully you can just kind of get it in focus, there is a solder blob right on, see it? And that is not supposed to be there, so just on the actual connector pins, you can see it. You can see it on this one, it's a normal one. There's almost a solder blob missing at the corner there. So I'm going to go back through and double check the connectors on all of these risers. I'm really not happy about that. That is already bad. I'm more disappointed because I didn't pick it up myself. It's quite an obvious blunder there. I've cleaned this USB connector, PCI Express connector, sorry, up now. So here's another one
how it should look. It's quite similar now. I had to grind it off, I couldn't find my soldering iron. What I've also decided to do is add in these plastic shims. So when these connectors fit together, they have a habit of connecting really closely like that, which is not good. So I thought I'd add these plastic shims. They'll just act as a spacer between each of the ports. So they should fit in quite snugly when they're all in the ports between them. So it will fit something like that. So I've added a plastic shim between each one of the connectors. So I'm a lot happier now that there's less risk of the connectors shorting out on each other.
Okay, so it's day 2. I had to take a break yesterday because I had some other things I needed to take care of, and also I was just making no progress on the rig. No matter what I was trying, it just wasn't working the way I intended. So I'd done quite a lot of digging late last night and found out what the cause of the problem was. The problem was the PCI Express risers. There was shorting out. So on the left hand side of the rig, you would have seen in the previous sections, one of those risers was shorting those whole bank of 6 cards out. So the fans wasn't spinning, and it just wasn't making any progress. So I had to remove all of them and then add them back in one by one. Firstly, to get a display from one of the actual graphics cards. Once I worked that out, then I could add the other ones back in, and I started making some progress. So I had all 6 cards running last night. I also installed Ubuntu on a separate hard drive because originally I thought it was something to do with maybe Simple Miner, so that would happen just as part of ruling out the problems. So now what I have is 6 GPUs, but one of those is actually connected by a 16 times to 16 times cable. I did that to, once again, as part of the fault finding process. So I will show you that now, but I'm expecting to change that back in a moment, and then from there I think we should be able to make some pretty good progress on the rest of the rig. Here's the mess that we're currently dealing with right now. You can see there's a lot going on, a lot of mess going on. Also late last night I decided to file down the ends on these riser connectors, just taking off the mass on the main clip just to get a little bit more clearance from each one of those connectors onto each other. This one here was part of the original 6 from this lot on this side, so I think this one potentially could be causing the problems. Sorry about the focus. So you can see I have this card here, which is the RX470, and it's actually into a 16 to 16 times riser, so that's why it looks so messy and sloppy. But I did that to make sure that I was getting the results that I wanted. So I removed all of the other cards or the other connectors and just went with a 16 times connector to 16, because obviously you then can't drop this card underneath it. It was just a mess. But that helped me get this card running, and then from there I could add it all back in the other cards. And so late last night I had 6 cards running, so that was fine. But now I'm going to change this 16 times back to the normal PCIe riser. That should be working fine, and then I can add in all of my other graphics cards. So that's a little update for this section, but I think we should be able to make some good progress now. Okay, so I've swapped this back from the 16 to 16 times cable back to the regular USB style connector. I'm just going to power it on now, and we'll see whether either it will short out or it will power up fairly normally. So let's hit the power button. Just the rigs on this side will power up. I've got the power supply on the other side turned off. So let's see if we can get any fan noise. Yeah, all the fans are spinning, so I'm pretty sure one of these connectors, there was either due to the tightness or one of them was shorting out on each other. There was also one contact that looked very close. I kind of cut between the two. So it seems to be working in any case. Actually, I've left the power connector unplugged, you can see that there. Whoops, I'll go and do that now. Reconnected all of the PCI Express connectors now. I was going to go one at a time, but I just thought I'd put them all in there, get them all going. All the fans seem to have started up normally. I did have a little flicker from the screen, so that should come on in just a moment. Okay, we are really close now. So I got into Ubuntu. There was an error message, so I escaped the console and started up the miner manually. And we have
12 or 13 GPUs running, so very much closer. We're nearly there, just a little bit more tweaking, I think we should be good. I've had the rig running with 12 GPUs, but this one here for some reason is not working. So all of the others are, but this one just isn't working. It's spinning, it's got power, but it's just not interacting with the OS, not getting hot. So what I'm going to do is swap these two over, just reverse them, just to confirm whether the problem is with the graphics card itself or whether the problem is with the cable management. So over here I swapped these two graphics cards over. This one is hot and this one is still cold. So that's actually quite a good indicator, because it means that the graphics card should be okay, and it just means that there's a problem with the PCI Express riser connector. So I'm going to try and swap that out somehow. I'll swap it with maybe one of these ones and use a ribbon cable on these ones because of the shortness. And then we'll go from there, and then hopefully we should have 13. So at least it's not a duff graphics card. I think I finally got it. So this card now is connected via a 1x16x ribbon cable, an old style ribbon cable. Probably might not have seen one of those before. Can't quite see in there. But the cause of the problems was this, the end, the PCIe Express connector end. So for some reason this one is not working. So it took a lot of fault finding to get to the bottom of it, but that's the problem. The cable and the riser seems to be fine. So I'm going to do a final power up now, show you on screen and give you a quick look at some of the performance that we might be able to expect with this rig. I'm just about to start up the miner. Hopefully everything will be fine this time. We'll get all 13 GPUs up and running. Hopefully the picture quality is okay. I'm kind of recording off the screen. It's not the best setup. Normally I'll do a proper screen capture. But let's get going. So we're using Claymore Dual Ethereum miner on Ubuntu. So we're using 9.8. I'll be starting off in dual mining mode, so it's going to be mining Ethereum and Decreed. Okay, so just in that moment, all the fans are kicked up. I've got the fan set to 50%, so I'll only be running this for a short burst. Just reducing the Decreed intensity. So we can see that most of our RX560s are running around about 11 mega hashes, some slightly over 11.5. The RX470s are kind of giving a bit of a mixed result. I've got one at 23.625, one at 17, the other one's at 17, and the RX570, can't quite see it in that list. Oh yeah, 2 at 17. Okay, so on the bottommost result now, we've got 182 mega hashes in total and 915 mega hashes for Decreed. So that's not a bad start. That's probably around about where I expected. I'm just going to use the app now on my phone, which is plugged into the power meter, and just try and see if we can get a quick reading from the Wattman meter. Like I say, no overclocking or tweaking has been done at this point, and I am running in both modes, dual mining modes. Okay, so I've got it on my phone, hopefully you can see it. So the current real-time consumption is 1365 watts. So that's what we're currently using. Obviously a lot more work to be done there, tweaking and improving, upgrading. Okay, I thought I'd give you guys a quick look at the rig from the other point of view, so arguably the better looking side. So there's quite a bit more tidying and tweaking to do, but overall it's come out not too badly. Okay guys, that's it for this video, just about. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed watching. I've tried my best in this video to provide
a whole in-depth amount of information. I know it's probably quite a lot for you guys to take in. There's a lot in there and it might have been a bit choppy through times. There was obviously some problems that we had, and I worked my best to sort of get through them, and in fact we did get through them in the end. So yeah, ultimately I do hope that you've enjoyed watching this video. As always, if you have any questions or comments about this or crypto mining in general, put those in the comments area below and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'll be doing regular updates on this build as time goes on, and I'll be bringing those to you over the next few days and weeks. So that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.